Order, order. I call the Minister to move the motion.
Thank you very much, Sir Desmond, and it's a pleasure to serve under your chairmanship. I beg to move that the committee considers the draft medicines for human use, open brackets, clinical trials, close brackets, open brackets, amendment, close brackets, regulations 2024. I'm grateful for the opportunity to debate these important amendments, which represent the most significant reform of UK clinical trials regulation in over 20 years. Clinical research is the single most important way in which we improve our healthcare by identifying the best way to prevent, diagnose and treat conditions. Clinical trials are vital for patients with limited available treatment options, such as the estimated 3.5 million people living with rare diseases in the UK, together with the 17.5 million living with long-term conditions. This legislation will play a vital role in supporting the development of new treatments for those who so desperately need them by transforming the environment for clinical trials in the UK. These changes respond to the sector's need for a more efficient and adaptable regulatory framework while safeguarding the well-being of trial participants. The reforms will establish a proportionate, flexible and effective clinical research environment, placing patients at the heart of the process. The changes have been carefully designed in response to calls for reform, aligning with the direction setting our manifesto promise to build an NHS fit for the future, maximising the UK's potential to lead the world in clinical trials. The reforms are further underpinned by the findings of Lord Darcy's independent investigation of the NHS in England and the recommendations of Lord O'Shaughnessy's review into commercial UK clinical trials. These changes to modernise the regulatory framework will cement the UK as a destination for clinical trials that is innovative, inclusive and international, and will most importantly help to get life-changing medicines to the people who need them sooner. So let me explain to the committee why government believes change is needed. It's both necessary and it's timely. The current legislation is based on the now repealed and replaced European Union Clinical Trials Directive. It no longer reflects the rapid advancements in medicine and technology. We have the opportunity to reform our national regulations to deliver a world-class regulatory environment for clinical trials, supporting the safe development of innovative treatments, benefiting patients and public health alike. So I'll now briefly summarise the key aspects of the reforms. The key changes are, firstly, risk proportionate regulation. Regulatory requirements will align with the risk level of a clinical trial, empowering researchers to adopt appropriate approaches. Low-risk clinical trials will benefit from faster approval processes through automatic authorisation without compromising patient safety. Secondly, future-proofing. This legislation is a purposeful move away from a one-size-fits-all approach which does not reflect modern, innovative clinical trial methods. We have removed granular and duplicative legal requirements in favour of specific tailored guidance which will provide flexibility and adaptability for future advancements. Thirdly, international alignment. The United Kingdom will remain aligned with international standards to ensure data from UK trials is accepted globally. This will help secure the UK's place as a preferred site for multinational clinical trials, including those conducted across the European Union. Fourthly, it will cement the UK as a destination for international clinical trials. Streamlined and efficient processes will be introduced to simplify clinical trial applications. The legislation will include a combined regulatory and research ethics review, ensuring approval timelines are internationally competitive. And finally, Sir Desmond, increased transparency. We want to ensure trusted information about clinical trials is publicly available for the benefit of all. The changes will, for the first time, introduce a legal requirement to register a clinical trial and to publish the summary of results. Participants will be offered an easy-to-understand summary of what the research has found out. These new transparency requirements will build public trust in research, ensuring participants and the wider public have access to information about ongoing research and can use research findings to help make informed decisions. Now I'll turn in more detail to the benefits of this new framework. Patients will have greater access to life-changing treatments which will improve outcomes and save lives. These reforms ensure UK patients will be among the first to benefit from cutting-edge therapies. The transparency requirements will ensure trusted information about clinical trials is publicly available for the benefit of all, improving public trust and confidence in the innovative clinical trials taking place in our country. Evidence shows hospitals which undertake research have better patient care outcomes, improves staff retention, and it benefits the whole health and care system. Clinical trials are part of the solution for reducing the strain on our National Health Service. Improved efficiency in conducting clinical trials will enhance research efforts and foster innovation in prevention, diagnosis and treatment across various conditions. Additionally, we are broadening the categories of healthcare professionals who can be accepted as investigators, encouraging more researchers to carry out clinical trials in their specialist areas. Innovators and industry will run clinical trials within a streamlined, risk-proportionate regulatory framework with reduced delays and administrative burdens. Supporting industry growth and bolstering the UK's life sciences sector, something I'm sure members on all sides of the House support. The impact on businesses has been evaluated as the projected costs and benefits to businesses was below £5 million in any single financial year. A full impact assessment was not required as originally stated in the accompanying explanatory note. Instead, a de minimis assessment was produced and it's published alongside this instrument. To summarise, Sir Desmond, this new framework uses effective regulation to accelerate the development of medicines, turning tomorrow's emerging medicines into today's reality for patients. By modernising our approach, we can solidify the United Kingdom's position as a global leader in clinical research, fostering innovation whilst upholding the highest safety standards. Before I conclude, I want to end on a critical point. Participant safety remains paramount. This new legislation, while streamlining processes and removing unnecessary barriers to innovation, prioritises robust oversight of clinical trials, ensuring the safety of those participating in a trial is never compromised. I therefore commend these regulations to the committee and hope honourable members will join me in supporting these transformative changes.
Yeah. The question is that the committee has considered the Medicines for Human Use Clinical Trials Amendment Regulations 2024. Dr. Caroline Johnson.
Thank you, Sir Desmond, and it's a pleasure to serve under your chairmanship this evening. The Minister said that 17.5 million people are living in the United Kingdom with a long-term health condition. And every time the news comes on of an evening They will hope that it brings with the news some hope of a new treatment that promises the cure or effective treatment of their condition or that of one that they love. Unfortunately, the news today tells them that AstraZeneca has cancelled their investment in the UK, which is a big loss for life sciences and cures for people in this country. But nevertheless, this piece of regulatory change is positive. This instrument will reform the UK's clinical trial regulatory regime with the aim of delivering a more proportionate, streamlined and effective clinical research environment by amending the Medicines for Human Use Clinical Trial Regulations 2004. These draft regulations are a response to a public consultation launched under the Conservatives in 2022, which asked for feedback on how regulation of clinical trials could be improved and strengthened in the UK. I agree with the Minister that we have an opportunity now we have left the European Union to design a world-class, sovereign and regulatory environment for clinical trials that supports the development of innovative medicines and ensures that the UK retains and grows its reputation as a world-leading base for life sciences, generating opportunities for skilled jobs in the United Kingdom. As Conservatives, we welcome innovation and we want to support UK patients getting early access to new and innovative treatments, and for these reasons we welcome these changes. Amongst the many changes it would make, it would legislate for a notification scheme to enable low-risk clinical trials to be automatically approved by the licensing authority, where the risk is similar to that of standard medical care. A favourable opinion from an ethics committee would still be required to safeguard people taking part in this trial, and the impact assessment estimates that around 20% of initial clinical trial applications would qualify for this notification scheme. When asked about eligibility criteria for the scheme, the MHRA explained that an application will be eligible if the medicine being investigated is used in line with its authorised use or established practice, is supported by evidence, a previous similar clinical trial of the product has been approved in the last 2 years, or the same trial has been approved in a US or a EEA country. While the clinical trial sponsor is responsible for determining whether the application meets the criteria for notification, the MHRA stated that a verification process would ensure their determination is correct. The notification scheme currently exists on an opt-in basis. The MHRA says this has reduced the time required to initiate lower-risk clinical trials by more than 50% without compromising patient safety. This will clearly help people get the new treatments quicker and is to be welcomed. We consider that the draft regulations outlined above will simultaneously remove obstacles to sponsors carrying out clinical trials, whilst ensuring the focus remains on protection of those participating in the trials. It will remove the aspects of legislation that are more prescriptive in favour of introducing greater flexibility and more risk proportionality, to reflect that trial design and operation is evolving with innovations in the products that trials investigate. Ultimately, these new requirements proposed will ensure that trial participants and their safety at the heart of legislation. Just one thing I'd like the Minister to clarify is that on the one hand, he was saying in his speech that this change in regulation will be revolutionary for people doing trials more quickly and drugs more quickly. On the other hand, he gave a de minimis amount in terms of the financial benefit. Could he explain that contradiction, please?
Thank you very much, Sir Desmond, and I want to thank the Shadow Minister for her support in respect of this piece of secondary legislation, which does mark the most substantial update to UK clinical trial regulations in more than 2 decades. This is an important step forward to deliver a more efficient and adaptable regulatory framework, all while ensuring the safety of the trial participants. The reforms will deliver a proportionate, flexible and efficient clinical research environment with patients at the very heart of the process. The Shadow Minister raised the issue of AstraZeneca and the support for life sciences in the UK. I want to reassure the committee, Sir Desmond, without straying too much away from the measures before us, that this government is fully committed to supporting the UK's life sciences sector. Today we've heard just how vital clinical trials are in driving the health and wealth of the UK, and we know that this sector has experienced strong growth in recent years, between 2022 and 2023, the number of UK industry-led clinical trials increased by 3.7%. The UK has also increased in the global rankings for phase 2 trials, moving from 6th to 4th place. And that is a testament of our thriving research ecosystem, something that was developed under the previous government, and it's something that we want to build on, which is what this set of regulations is all about. It's about making sure that our country is at the cutting edge of the latest developments in medical science, and that it's British patients who are able to access those treatments as early as possible through clinical trials and then through the early adoption of those medicines once they are brought to market. In terms of the de minimis assessment, of course, an assessment of the updated legislation has been produced, and it estimates that there will be a total transition cost of approximately £720,000 to business for organisations to familiarise and operationalise the changes. It's expected that the annual total benefit to businesses will be £1 million, which is primarily due to the changes in the approval processes. And that is the reason why I sought to correct the record in my opening remarks, because it had originally been anticipated that we would need to have the full assessment, but actually on closer scrutiny, that isn't necessary because of the reasons that I've just set out. I'll happily give way.
Thank you. When he's talking about £1 million, is that the benefit to the current businesses that exist now in the current level of trials that there is now? Or is that his estimate of the rise in the number of trials as a result of these changes?
So that, my understanding, and I look for inspiration if I am wrong, is the situation today. But if that is not correct, I will ensure that the Honourable Lady and members of the committee are written to, because obviously the impact on businesses is the impact on business as it stands now. We want to grow the business, we want to ensure that that ecosystem grows, we want to ensure that the life sciences sector is booming in this country for all the reasons that I set out in opening. So, in conclusion, Sir Desmond, by modernising our regulatory framework, we will ensure life-saving treatments are accelerated by streamlined, efficient processes without compromising safety standards. These reforms will strengthen the UK's position as a global leader in innovative clinical trials and help get life-saving, life-changing medicines to the people who need them the most, the soonest. And I'm grateful to the Shadow Minister for her support and for members for considering these regulations today, and I hope they will all join me in supporting them.
The question is that the committee has considered the Medicines for Human Use Clinical Trials Amendment Regulations 2024. As many of that opinion will say aye.
Aye.
Of the contrary, no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Order.